right. Oop, adjusting camera. You know how this works. Yeah, good enough. I think camera's good. All right. Welcome, everybody. Hello, all. Woo. I still want to adjust a little bit more. There we go. Camera's never easy with this stuff. Anyway, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Hey, guys. Welcome, YouTubers. Let me get TikTok rolling here. Hi, dog. What's up? All right. The dog wanted to say hi, so we're saying hi. Now she's going to lick my leg because she knows I hate that. It's like, I hate it. She's like nonstop. Lick. All right, hold on. Let me get TikTok rolling here. Beep, 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 beep. Go live. Shoot. Get my glasses. One last time here for TikTok. Actually, introduce yourselves, YouTubers. Our usual. Let's see. Actually, you can do the game bow. All right. Getting TikTok rolling here. Woo! Oh, hey, Elix. Check reply. Didn't know we had another check. Wonderful. Boom. There's TikTokers. All right. There's the TikTokers. Okay, Google, showtime. That's supposed to turn on the lights to 100%. Let's see if it works. Oh, it worked. Yay. That was good. I set up my Google so that when I say it's showtime, it turns all my lights on 100% and turns an extra light on behind the TV just to like fill in a little bit more. So, Sasha, stop licking my leg. Oh my God. Hello, guys. Hello, TikTokers. Thank you, John, for the gift. John S. Good evening, Russell. Oh, hello, everybody. Yeah, do a quick intro where you're from while we wait for maybe half a minute for folks to join us. And then we will get rolling here. Thank you, Richard, for the finger heart. Alan for the heart me. But yeah, do just a quick intro where you are hailing from. Do I have a day job? No, this is my day job. I work full-time trying to help save people around the world. Pretty good job, actually. But it's paid for by your gifts. So that's why I ask you guys for gifts. So please keep them coming if you like my work. Thank you, Mark Starr. Thank you, Jetta. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you, Richard. Very nice. Actually, you know what? I need to get a touch more water here. I did not grab. I did not fill my water mug. One second. All right. There we go. All right. There we go. My water mug is now full. Thank you, Hannah, for the gift. Much happier now. There we go. I hate when I forget that. Thank you, Canada Zen. Anyway, welcome, guys. So, hello from Wales. Hey, Robert. Brian Roberts. I'm sure you get that a lot. Hey, Kevin. Hey, Max Trax. Hannah, Rocco. Excellent. Well, thank you, guys. Appreciate you all coming tonight. Thank you for the gifts on TikTok and YouTube as well. Thank you, Chazak. We've got a decent amount of news. Actually, it's not a ton of news tonight. It's a decent amount. Thank you, Marcy, Brian, again. But interesting news, I think. The Russians are... Actually, I'm going to start talking about the Russians. Putin's threatening nuclear war again, which means he's desperate. I mean, he doesn't mean it. He's lying. He's bluffing. But it is pretty much a tell, like in poker, when people do things like their eye twitches or whatever, and it's what they do whenever they're bluffing. He's bluffing again. And he does it. Putin does it whenever he's kind of freaking out and not doing well in Ukraine. The fact that he's once again threatening nuclear war means he's not doing well in Ukraine. I will talk about it in a second. It's total BS. I don't even care anymore when this guy threatens this crap. Bottom line, he nukes us, we nuke him. That's it. End of story. He knows it. I mean, literally, nothing's going to happen. He's not going to do a damn thing. But he's doing it to freak every single one of you out. We're talking about Putin here. He's doing it to freak every single one of you out. So you not only stop helping Ukraine, but so you cow down, get on your knees and say, oh, please, Mr. Putin, don't hurt me. And he wants everyone around the world to be on their knees, sucking up to him. So he can be the big bully. He can steal all the land. He can invade all his neighbors. He can commit war crimes, kidnap children, everything he wants to do. Thank you, Nicholas. And it just gets on my nerves at some point. Thank you, Canada Zen. Because it's ridiculous at this point. I mean, it's like literally, thank you, Martin. Thank you. And Canada's end. Yep. It's like literally, watching Putin make his bullshit threats about nuclear war. It is like watching a child. Like, I kind of think, I used to say 13-year-old. I think we're talking more like an 8-year-old, right? Somebody who's so immature and so young that they make threats to you, but they're stupid because they're 8-year-old kids, right? So that they're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And you're kind of like in your head going, no, you're not. You're 8 years old. I'm not very worried. And you've made the same threat 300 times in the last 2 years, right? You're not going to do it. But he's so immature. And so not even immature. So desperate, I guess. Honestly, you know what it is? I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say desperate. Thank you, Progressive. I think the reason that Putin constantly makes these stupid nuclear war threats against the West is because we've shown him that it works. That's why he does it. Thank you, Martin. He doesn't do it because he's stupid. Thank you, Martin. He does it because he's former KGB. His analysis of the situation is that when he threatens nuclear war, people get scared. People in the West get scared. Trump gets scared. Biden gets scared. Both of them get scared, actually. Thank you, Jen. Biden's biggest mistake at the beginning of the war was constantly talking about, oh, it's World War III. If we get into a war with Russia, they have nuclear weapons. Oh my God, we've got to avoid war at all costs. Well, if you've got to avoid war at all costs, then I can do anything to you, right? I mean, if you're going to avoid war with me at all costs, I can do anything I want. I can do any slight. I can steal land. I can attack your country. I can do everything because you are desperate to avoid war at all costs. And that's how Putin sees it. Putin thinks that he's going to scare you and he's going to scare our leaders by constantly threatening nuclear war. Anyway, let me do the quick introduction and then I'm going to keep talking about this. So I am John Aravosis. Welcome, everybody. This is the Aravosis Report. It is my nightly show at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, US, where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Talking about some threats Putin made today. Let me read this to you, okay? Putin claimed today that the West is trying to push Russia towards a strategic defeat in the Ukrainian battlefields. Of course we are. First of all, what a ridiculous, I mean, again, we're dealing with a child here. You're trying to make me lose. Of course we're trying to make you lose. Are you stupid? Like, I mean, I don't even know, right? Like, what's he even saying? Right? Yeah, I mean, as if it's a big gotcha. Like, oh no, Putin's figured out that we're trying to make him lose in Ukraine. Oh no. Like, what do we do? He's found out our secret, right? So first of all, the accusation is just freaking stupid, right? It is like a child having a tantrum, MZ. Absolutely. It's just kind of stupid. So first of all, that's the first point, right? Putin accuses us of trying to make him lose. Duh. Right? Duh. But he goes on and he says, which could mean the end of Russian statehood. Here's my favorite, okay? I'm going to read to the quote. Putin is claiming that, and I'm going to tell you why he's claiming this. Putin is claiming that if they lose in Ukraine, they will literally lose the entire country of Russia and they'll no longer exist as a country. Thank you, Lumicron. I mean, what a just crock of bull. But you know, I don't even know if I need to explain this to you guys. Like, yeah, it'd be nice for him if he wins in Ukraine. How does not being able to take over one of your neighbors and wipe him out, how does that eliminate your country, right? I mean, America lost in Vietnam. It didn't eliminate our country, right? I mean, we didn't do very well in Iraq and Afghanistan either. It didn't eliminate our country. Russia, by the way, did horrifically in Afghanistan. 10 years in Afghanistan, lost a lot of men. It helped bring about the end of the Soviet Union, but they didn't like lose Russia and end their country, right? It's just, anyway, listen to this though. So, but he goes on and then he makes a nuclear threat. Listen to this. For Russia, this means the end of its statehood. This means the end of the 1,000-year history of the Russian state. I think this is clear to everyone. Like, no. He added, no, here's the rub. Thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you, Dan, for subscribing, or somebody who gave Dan a gift subscription, whichever one that is. What Putin's doing here, he is threatening nuclear war. By saying this. And actually, he then went and said something later that backs this up. Thank you, Elizabeth. He's threatening nuclear war because one of Russia's 4 doctrines for when they'll use nukes is an existential threat to Mother Russia. If Russia is being threatened with no longer existing, right? Like, for example, we're about to take Moscow. The Americans have invaded and we're about to take Moscow and Russia will end as it knows. Then they can use nukes. That's one of the rules. He's trying to argue that if they lose in Ukraine, it is an existential threat to Russia and Russia will cease to exist as a country. And therefore, what he's not saying yet, therefore they can use nuclear weapons if it looks like they're going to lose in Ukraine. That's what he's actually saying. Thank you, Pedro. This is part of the bullshit. of what Putin constantly says. And as Bodigathia says, we Vikings founded Russia, which is correct. And honestly, 1,000 years, I don't think so. Like, I'm pretty sure. I don't think so, right? Didn't Moscow like exist in, what was it? Is Moscow like from 1400 or 1600 or something? When did Moscow come about? Like, I don't think they've been around for 1,000 years. I think the Vikings were around, right? The Vikings were around. The Ukrainians actually existed a little bit earlier as well, Viking as well. Let me read this. So then he throws in, he's considering changing their nuclear rules, right? Because of when they use nukes. Listen to this. Related to lowering the threshold for the use of nuclear weapons. So he's throwing in and saying, well, we may change the rules so that we can use nuclear weapons even quicker than we want. Then, basically lower the threshold, right? So lower the rules, make it easier for us to use nukes. Okay, couple points here. In addition to Putin just being a pathological liar and threatening nuclear war every day, which means ignore him. Does anybody here really believe that Vladimir Putin wants to use nuclear weapons, whether in Ukraine or against the West, but simply can't because the Russian rules won't let him? Right? I mean, who exactly in Russia is going to turn and say, oh, comrade, what is he? Vladimir or Dmitrovich, whatever the hell his middle name is, right? I know you want to use those nukes, but we're not going to let you because the rules say you can't. Right? I mean, thank you, Succeed. I mean, I laugh at this. It's so stupid. It's just so freaking stupid, right? I mean, he's lying. But again, all of this is psychological. Everything he's doing is psychological. He is trying to scare all of you into thinking he's actually going to use nuclear war. Here's why he's not going to use nuclear war, okay? And he's not going to use his nukes. For example, if he used his nuclear weapons against us, we would use our nuclear weapons against him and Russia would cease to exist, period. That's it. End of Russia. You don't have to be a rocket scientist for this. You're Russia. You know, if you use your nukes against us in the West, we will retaliate, use our nukes against you, and we've got enough to wipe your country off the map. Why would you possibly do that? Again, you don't need to be, I've got a background in foreign policy. I've got a background in U.S. government, right? In politics in Washington for 30, 40 years now. Thank you, Martin. You don't need to have that. You alone can figure it out, right? If you're Russia and you've got nukes and you could use them against us, but I'm going to respond as America and I'm going to respond with my nukes and wipe you from the map if you use your nukes, why would you use your nukes? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Using them in Ukraine gets interesting. So the Ukraine story, I've talked about this before, but since we have a lot of new Russian trolls today, the Russians, by the way, if you like my work, please do donate. Please give gifts on TikTok and YouTube, do subscriptions, gift memberships. The Russians are clearly very upset about my show this week. They've been coming here nonstop, which means we're doing the right things, guys. But let's say Russia's not attacking anybody in the West with nuclear weapons because we will wipe them off the face of the earth if they do that. Thank you, user 336. And I hope that doesn't happen, right? I hope Russia doesn't do that. I don't want nuclear war, but there will be one. If Russia does that, so Russia's not going to do it. Thank you, Courtney. The second possibility, what if Russia's threatening, well, but if we're not doing well in Ukraine, we'll use nukes in Ukraine. That gets more interesting, right? Thank you, Marcy. Here's the thing. The only way Russia will use nukes in Ukraine, thank you, High Tide, a couple different sort of analyses here. One, they will only use nukes if they think it is in their interest to use nukes. Thank you, High Tide. And for the gift, and James for the gift on YouTube, meaning they will do an analysis and a cost-benefit analysis it's called. And they will sit there and say, okay, thank you, Lamb Chop. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for the Russian trolls, by the way. You brought in a lot of more gifts on TikTok. Thank you. That's money in my pocket. Thank you. Thank Uncle Vlad for me. If he's not busy sharing his innermost pent-up thoughts with Kim in North Korea. Hey, Phoenix, thank you for joining as a new subscriber. Excellent. Here we got Boji. Thank you, Boji, for the hearts. So Russia using nukes in Ukraine. He's only going to do it if he thinks it's to his advantage to use nukes in Ukraine. What does that mean? Thank you, High Tide. First of all, there has to be a benefit, right? And then the benefit has to offset the negative, right? The deficit or whatever you want to call it, right? So the benefit and the harm have to offset each other. It's got to be more beneficial than it is harmful to use nukes in Ukraine. What's the benefit? It's not clear. The only benefit there is to Putin using nukes in Ukraine is possibly freaking out the West so much that we say, oh my God, stop. We'll give you anything, right? Democrats aren't going to do that. Republicans may. I mean, Trump's going to cut off Ukraine anyway if he becomes president. He's already said he will. Trump is on Putin's side. Trump has called for Putin to invade Europe. So we know that. So if Putin were to use nukes in Ukraine, Trump very well could say, attaboy, right? He very well could. Trump blames America first. That's what, when he says America first, he means blame America first, which I'm always shocked that Democrats don't ever pick up on that, because it's a great expression, but it's also very true and very Trumpian to come up with something as pithy as that, like blame America first. So Putin has to decide, like, is it worth it? Thank you, High Tide. The first issue is there anything beneficial? Well, okay, he could freak out Trump and give Trump a reason to cut off aid, right? Is he going to freak out the Germans? I'm not convinced. Thank you, Martin. Second issue, what's the strategic benefit to Putin attacking Ukraine? Does Putin get anything out of it in terms of military strategy? Scaring us, maybe, right? Maybe if he's able to scare Trump into caving and not helping Ukraine by using nukes, whatever, maybe. But the military experts will tell you that there's no benefit to Putin actually using nukes. There's no military benefit directly. It's not like Putin will drop nukes in Ukraine and he'll wipe out the Ukrainian military with one bomb or something like that. Nobody believes that's going to happen. Part of the problem is the territory being fought over is Ukrainian territory that Russia is claiming belongs to it and that Russia already has put a lot of citizens in. How's Russia going to nuke its own? I mean, Russia already claims these are Russian territories that it's stolen from Ukraine. Russia's going to nuke its own territories? Really? Is Russia going to nuke its own citizens in those territories? Really? Like, how does that work? The final point, when Russia is doing an analysis of, thank you, Marie, is it beneficial or not to nuke Ukraine? The final calculus, thank you, Jane, for Russia is going to be, what will NATO do? Not just NATO, what will the world do if Russia uses nuclear weapons? Guys, nobody's used nuclear weapons in a war since World War II. Thank you, Helena. Thank you, Jane. Since World War II. It is now considered really bad form to use nuclear weapons, right? We can argue about World War II. I think it was justified. But you can argue about it. Fair enough. But today, nobody thinks today, other than the Russians, that it's okay to use nukes, right? Unless it's a last resort. I mean, literally, like the Russians nuke us, we nuke them. Fair enough. But nobody thinks that using nukes is considered acceptable nowadays. If Russia were to do it, they would be in danger of losing China as an ally. They'd be in danger of losing India as a pretty much ally. India likes to pretend they're not, but they are Russia's ally. And then the big question becomes, what does the West do? Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Bjorn, for the gifts. What does the West do? I think there's a very good chance that NATO goes to war with Putin if he launches a nuke in Ukraine. If he launches a nuke in Ukraine, he potentially is threatening NATO countries on the border. There's Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and Hungary, right? 4 NATO countries. Turkey's not that far away. He's threatening certainly those 4 NATO countries first by blowing up a nuke because radiation could spread, etc. Secondly, the West has no choice but to send the message to the world that you can't use nukes and get away with it. Russia has to pay a horrific price if he uses nukes, if Putin were to use nukes in Ukraine. Because if he doesn't, and I'm talking horrific price, overwhelming price, something so catastrophic that we do to him that it isn't worth it. Why? Because if the Russians get away with using nukes in Ukraine, then you've just told the Israelis that have nukes that they can do it. You've told the Iranians who are getting nukes that they can do it. You've told the North Koreans, the Pakistanis, the Indians, all of them that have nuclear weapons too, that it's okay for them to use their nukes. You're telling everybody that you can actually get away with it and do it. That is incredibly dangerous. I think, but here's the point. Thank you, Christine. This is all conjecture. The Biden administration and the Europeans need to let, and maybe they have, we don't know because this would have been done privately, they need to let Putin know in no uncertain terms that he uses nukes in Ukraine and he has just declared war on NATO and we will go to war with him. And that will be it. Why is that a problem for Putin? Because Putin knows he's going to lose a war with NATO, right? Thank you, Anne, for the gift on YouTube. We've all got nukes, right? So Putin knows and we know that if we start nuking each other, we all die. And so neither of us is going to nuke each other. If Putin were to use nukes in Ukraine and he were to know that will cause NATO to enter the war in a conventional way, a non-nuclear way, right? So using our bombs and everything, but not our nukes. Putin loses. Our military is bigger than his. NATO collectively, we are bigger. We've got better weapons. We've got more weapons. Our Air Force alone would wipe the Russians off the map. Our Navy, our submarines, our cruise missiles, we would destroy the Russians if we got into a war with them. And again, Putin knows this. Putin, any of you who are afraid of war with Russia, guess who's more afraid of NATO going to war with Russia? Russia. They're terrified of it. All Putin got, and I've told you this before, use it for everything he tells you. Thank you, Bjorn. All Putin does is bluff and bluff and bluff and bluff, and that's all he does. And it's a thing to remember. Speaking of which, more bluffs from Putin vis-a-vis South Korea. So South Korea is not very happy because the Russians, Putin reached went to North Korea again. North Korea, horrific dictatorship, the worst dictatorship in the world, killed millions of their own people. I mean, I cannot stress enough what a draconian, horrific dictatorship North Korea is. Horrific. Thank you, Ann. More gifts on YouTube. Putin goes there yesterday, and signs a security deal, like a mutual defense contract or whatever, a treaty with the North Koreans. And as part of it, we know this, we don't have the details, but thank you, Elizabeth, for the B. But we know, thank you, Friendly Fire, appreciate it. We know that Putin is getting millions of artillery shells from the North Koreans. Putin is violating sanctions by getting them, international sanctions on the nuclear program in North Korea by doing this. Putin is likely violating sanctions by helping North Korea. He's giving North Korea something in return. North Korea is not giving him millions of artillery shells for nothing. We believe Putin may be giving North Korea missile technology, nuclear technology, satellite technology, all so that North Korea can build up its nuclear program. North Korea already has nuclear weapons. Thank you, Paul. But building up North Korea's ability to nuke us. Okay. The South Koreans who are right there and not thrilled having like Uncle Crazy on the border, right? North Koreans. Thank you, Dragos. Thank you, Paul. The South Koreans said that they are going to reconsider sending weapons to Ukraine. Up until now, the South Koreans have only provided humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Though it's been reported that they indirectly supplied artillery shells via the U.S., maybe. But the South Koreans are saying because Russia is now helping North Korea become stronger, which poses a danger to South Korea is considering providing weapons to North Korea, to Ukraine. What does Putin do? He threatens South Korea. What a surprise. Putin said today that Russia will, and again, as only, who's ever doing if the Simpson thing is a bot or a troll, just mute them. Mods, Ash, or whoever's there today, just mute them. The Russians are, so they threatened South Korea. They said Russia will take decisions that are unlikely to please South Korea if South Korea decides to give weapons to Ukraine. Again, we're talking about an 8-year-old child. What does that mean? Oh, we're going to take positions that are unlikely to please you. Like, what are you, like some vampire? Oh, positions that are unlikely to please you. I mean, like, what does that even mean, right? Thank you, Carter. Thank you, Nauseous. And Sally, excellent. Sally did a gift membership that Paprika got. Great. Anybody who's got a membership or a gift membership, among other things, that means you can join us on Saturday morning for our Saturday show. So it's 11 a.m. Eastern time Saturday. Actually, this weekend, I think I've got to check. Is it this weekend or next weekend that we're doing the Sunday show for the high rolling subscribers? Let me look here. But for everybody else, we've got a Saturday show for everybody, 11 a.m. for the monthly subscribers on TikTok, YouTube, and Discord. Let me see here real quick. One sec here. One sec. Sunday, June 23rd. Yeah. So the Sunday show is this weekend as well for the $25 and up subscribers. Okay. Just so folks know. So he's threatening. Here's the thing with Putin threatening South Korea. So as I was saying, Putin's threatening South Korea and saying, oh boy, you're upset, South Korea, that I am aiding your enemy, North Korea, and I'm giving them technology that is probably helping their nuclear program, which threatens North Korea nuking us, but also threatens North Korea nuking South Korea. And the South Koreans are pissed and said, fine, you do that, and we may just provide weapons to Ukraine. Putin responds by saying, if you provide weapons to Ukraine, we are going to do something unlikely to please you. Thank you, Bjorn. Here's the problem. What Putin would do that was unlikely to please South Korea would be helping North Korea militarize. That's what Putin would do. What is Putin already doing? He's helping North Korea militarize. Putin sort of blew his chance here, right? The thing he's threatening Ukraine with is the very thing that started this dispute with the thing that Putin is threatening South Korea with is the very thing that started this conflict between South Korea, this confrontation, and Russia. That Russia started helping North Korea get stronger militarily. So Putin can't turn around and say, well, oh, if you retaliate against me, I'm going to help North Korea become stronger militarily. You already are. Do you get what I mean? This is where, again, thank you, family, for the gift. This is, again, where the Russians just are Putin, especially, he's just a blowhard, as who just said that, home on the range. He's a blowhard. He's a bluffer. Everything's bluffing. Everything's bravado. Everything's scary. And you know what? The world needs to stand up to him and just go, nah. You know what I mean? We don't. At this point, I kind of wish somebody would do it publicly to him. Even though, granted, in diplomacy, you typically don't do things like that publicly. Thank you, Eva. You don't do things publicly like that, like calling Putin out and saying you're bluffing, because then you put him on the spot and it maybe makes him to do something stupid because he's got to prove he's not bluffing, right? So fair enough. As much as, thank you, Tarad, as much as I would love somebody to call him out and go, shut up. Like the South Korean leader and the Americans just go, shut up already, right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Invade your neighbors, which you're already doing? What are you going to do? Help the North Korean dictatorship, which you're already doing? What are you going to do? Kidnap Ukrainian children, which you're already doing? Nonstop war crimes in Ukraine that you've been indicted for by the International Criminal Court? I mean, just shut up already. Anyway, he does need to be put in his place. He really does, though, I think. Although one can argue that we're doing it privately, right? Because it's entirely possible that we've told him this privately and just said, STFU. Go ahead, say all the crap you want, but the more you raise tensions, the more we're going to help Ukraine. And the more allies like South Korea are going to start helping as well. So anyway, more news. That was a lot of news already today. More news. 1 second here. All right. Romania. Oh, this is great. Great news. There's a lot of good stories today. Romania will donate 2 Patriot missile systems to Ukraine. Thank you, Arunyas. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, family, again for the gifts. Family, multiple gifts from family. Thank you. Ukraine is going to be, oh, that's a troll, by the way. That's a troll. By the way, Ash, I'm going to get rid of this person. Anybody who's asking about Biden stepping down, that's the latest Russian troll talking point. Just be aware of it and just mute the, I'm going to mute that person myself. Just mute them when they come out and do that. It's a total Russian troll thing that started like a day or two ago. I think Big Hawk, you may be the one who noticed it first. I think we were talking about it with the mods. Yeah. Any case, thank you, Christine. Thank you, Cracker. Thank you, Nauseous, for the gifts. So Romania, thank you, Jeremy. Romania is donating 2 Patriot missile systems to Ukraine. This is great. Exactly. Bring out the goat. Bring out the goat. Bring out your dead. Hey, Paul. Thank you for that. Thank you, Just Me. Romania is donating 2 Patriot missile systems. Is that correct? Arunas? It's a guess. I mean, I speak Greek, I speak Italian, I speak Spanish. So your name looked like it would be Arunas. And though your last name is tough, it could be Mikunas or it could be Miskunas. I don't know if the C is an S. Is that like Lithuanian or what is that? I'm just curious. I always like to sort of figure out these names. Anyway, it's a very cool name. Never heard of it before. So Romania is providing 2 Patriot missile systems to Ukraine. That's huge. The Patriot missiles are what Ukraine is using to stop the Russians from bombing them. They've only had 2 or 3 to start with, maybe 3. They're getting more now. They're getting, I really need to write this down to keep track of all of them they're getting, I think 2, from the Germans. There was 1, but I think there's a second one now. They've got 2 coming from Romania. And the good part is these aren't just the missiles. Like America's providing more missiles, for example, that more missiles that were going to go to Switzerland, but are now going to go to Ukraine. But they're actually providing, thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Florian. They're actually providing 2 of the entire systems, which means the radar, the command and control center, basically, if you have an entire system, you can set it up somewhere else, which is great. right? If you're just providing missiles, they can only use missiles with their current system, which means they can keep protecting Kyiv, but they can't install it in some other city at the same time because they don't have the system. It's like having it's the difference between giving somebody more bullets and giving them more bullets and a gun, right? We are providing, or the Romanians are providing the Ukrainians with the bullets, the missiles, and a new gun so they can basically use it somewhere else in the country at the same time, which is huge. All right. White House confirms that Ukraine is going to get priority on air defense missile systems, including the Patriot and the NASAMS missiles, which is good. This was an interesting story. So this one I thought was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So the Biden administration today announced that it is going to bar the sale of Kaspersky antivirus software in America. Now, this is very interesting. This is a big name of software. These guys do antivirus for computers. They're owned by Russians, influenced by the Russian government, and the U.S. government is finally intervening and saying you can no longer sell in the U.S. I would, if any of you have their software, I would be very careful if I were you, because as I said, let me read you a little more about this. Adding the cybersecurity company to the, this is from Reuters, to the entity list effectively bars a company, U.S. suppliers. It bars U.S. suppliers from selling to it. Moscow's influence over the company was found to pose a significant risk, according to U.S. Commerce Secretary. The software's privileged access to a computer's systems could allow it to steal sensitive information from American computers or install malware and withhold critical updates. The new restrictions will go into effect by September 29th. This is great news, but boy, it's going to piss them off. It is so going to piss off the Russians, which is great, but just be careful. I have no thoughts on the draft because nobody's having a draft, AJ, so it doesn't matter. It's like saying, what's my thoughts on, I don't know, volcano destroying half the earth. It's not. So zero thoughts because it's not happening. Sky News. Oh, so this is an update on, remember that American woman who's frankly an idiot, this Russian American woman, the one who's from Los Angeles and thought it would be a good idea to go to Russia last December, like total, I mean, just insane, absolutely insane. She goes to Russia last September. The Russians, of course, kidnap her like they do because they love kidnapping Americans. She's Russian American. And they're now putting her on trial for 20 years in prison, accusing her of treason because, get this, when she was living in the U.S. a couple years ago, she made like a $20 donation to Razom for Ukraine, which is a charity that provides help to the Ukrainians, Ukrainian military, everybody. They're one of the charities that we raise money for, actually, when we bought the medical kits. Remember we raised like $10,000 for medical kits for the Ukrainian military? We did it through Razom for Ukraine. So she, like an idiot, she goes to Russia in December. They kidnap her, big surprise, and now they're charging her with treason and putting her up for trial for 20 years. I'm giving you some more of the backstory here, okay? She was detained while visiting her parents and younger sister. Her former mother-in-law told Reuters that she had traveled home in January after her boyfriend surprised her with a plane ticket. Yeah, that boyfriend is, you need to lose him fast. She had told her boyfriend Russia was safe and he shouldn't worry about her traveling there. I mean, again, guys, I don't want anything to be done to help this woman get out of there. I have had it with this stuff. I don't want to sound cold-hearted, but if you walk in to a kidnapper's den and get kidnapped, I'm not helping you, right? We are going to have to give up another freaking Russian spy to get rid of this woman because she was stupid enough to go over to Russia. It so pisses me off. It so pisses me off, right? She's an idiot. She shouldn't have gone there. Oh, hey, Don. It just blows my mind. Oh no, Donald Sutherland died. Oh no, he was a great actor. I didn't know he died. Oh, wonderful actor. Wow. Anyway, that's it for the news. We have a ton of new items over in the auctions. I finally put them all up, guys. Go check them out. I will show you a couple. We do auctions over on Discord. And the auction items are to benefit Ukraine, to benefit me both, because I do this full time. I've been doing it since the war broke out. This is my job. And the way I am paid is with your guys' gifts, with your membership, subscriptions, etc. That's why I'm always hitting you up for those. But we also do some auctions. They bring in some money. I do it more because I care. I think it's nice. Usually it's cool stuff from Ukraine, some stuff I've gotten around the world. And half the money from the auctions I send every week to Ukraine. Half the money goes to help me. A couple different things. We've got some fun stickers from Ukraine that James got. You can see all sorts of fun little in Ukrainian and English both, which is kind of fun. We've got, well, my favorite. This is the coolest thing James brought back. It is a fake Lego, a Lego knockoff. Thank you, Bjorn, of the Bayraktar. The Bayraktar, you might recall, is the Ukrainian, well, it's the Turkish drone, the big, huge Turkish drone that the Ukrainians were buying. A lot of European governments and people raised money to buy them as well. And I mean, these guys were devastating against Russian troops. Well, it's a Lego, but it's a knockoff Lego. Devoted to the Bayraktar. It says, what, ZSU, which is the Ukrainian Armed Forces of Ukraine. The funny part about this, which I love, it's made in China. So the Chinese that are the Russia's biggest benefactor in the war turned around and are selling Bayraktar Legos of the most renowned weapons that are killing Russian troops. 500,000 Russian casualties in Ukraine, guy, to date. The Chinese are selling commemorative Legos of the best weapons that are killing Russians. I mean, it's insane. And yeah, the box alone is great. I was going to say, you could put this together. Whoever wins this in auction, you do not want to lose the box. These things are always, I mean, personally, I would open it and make it. True collectors would say, don't even open it. I think it'd be pretty cool to open it. Up to you. But anyway, thank you, Vicky. This is a really cool item. I just think it's fun, And thank you, James, again for getting it. Couple other things. A new Ukrainian bracelet. This is from Ukraine. It's gold and blue, which is the Ukrainian national colors with a oops. There we go. I'm trying to do this the right way with a Ukrainian trident on it. Very, very pretty. Fridge magnet. These are always good. These are the Russian warship Go F Yourself. Oh, I wish the trolls hadn't left because they would have loved this. Thank you, Vicky. These are the Russian warship Go F Yourself fridge magnets that are commemorating the Ukrainian stamp that commemorates the Ukrainian troops that blew up and sank the Russian warship, their flagship in the Black Sea, the Moskva. The Moskva is famous because it's the ship that ordered the Ukrainians to surrender on Snake Island the first day of the war. And the Ukrainians responded and said, Russian warship, go F yourself. Well, this Ukrainian stamp literally shows a soldier flipping his middle finger at the Russian ship. This is obviously a fridge magnet, a picture of the stamp. You guys can see there. I always try to get this. There we go. That's in focus now. So this is a very fun fridge magnet. The last thing I will show you briefly, another nice piece of embroidery. What do you call this? You guys told me before, not needle point. What do you call it? Cross stitch. But this is from Ukraine, from a family in southwestern Ukraine. It is about, I just measured it, 26 inches by 11 inches. I wrote down in the Discord, but it basically is a dresser scarf, I believe it's called, or a table runner that is for the top of like your dresser. But handmade in Ukraine from a family in southwestern Ukraine. They say that this was made in the 1950s, 1960s. Very pretty. And you can see the back. You can see sort of the stitching on the back. So there you go. But very cool. I mean, I will say personally, it's not my taste. It's a little more feminine or whatever, but obviously some of you are feminine. So it might be something you'd be into. I may stop there. I've got some really cool ginger soap that I bought in Singapore that's really neat because I love that kind of. It's the kind of soap you'd put out for guests, basically in the guest bathroom. But I think it's really pretty. And finally, I will show you just really quick. I got this really kitschy fridge magnet in Bali, and I love this thing. It's 3D a little bit, like the bottom part sticks out from the back. I just think it's really pretty. I like it. It's because you can see the size. It's pretty good size. But the colors I think are really pretty. I love it because it's kitschy, it's just like it's an underwater scene with the whales and dolphins and everything else. I just think it's really pretty. So it's a fridge magnet from Bali. I figured anybody who's into fridge magnets, kind of a unique place to get it from. I picked it out myself. So very fun. All right. So let's hang out and chat. Is it cross stitch? Okay. Oh, it's a good cross stitch. Oh, that's good. I don't know with these things. I Googled and people said table runners or dresser scarves, which I thought was kind of such a funny thing, right? Those are fire sprinklers above. Yes, I did not install them. They came with the apartment. Thank you, Boy Mom. Thank you, Chazak. All right. So let's hang out and talk, guys. We can talk about the war, AJ. We're doing the Q&A right now. Things in the war have not changed much recently. There's a bit of a stalemate going on in eastern Ukraine. The Ukrainians are not advancing, but the Russians aren't really advancing. The Russians are literally fighting for months to get like one little town or two little towns. That's it. They're kind of in trouble. I mean, the Ukrainians are in trouble too. Right now, I think it's kind of a stalemate right now, right? But the Ukrainians are in trouble too. And I'm sorry, the Russians are in trouble too. That's why Russia's going to North Korea, doing these mutual aid agreements, getting all the artillery from North Korea. The Russians also reportedly moved like 80% of their troops and weapons from the Finnish border in the north down to Ukraine because they need the weapons. So very interesting. Very interesting. Behind my TV, it is not a plant. Behind my TV is, for TikTok, this thing they're talking about. For YouTube, they're talking about this. That is baleen from the mouth of a whale. It's from Alaska. It is part of a native sort of craft from Alaska. It's about 11 feet long, which in meters, I don't know. 11 feet, 11 feet would be a little less than 3 meters. No, 4 meters, a little less than 4 meters. But it's those strips go in the mouth of a whale in a row, and they're what filter out the plankton that the whale eat, the little microscopic plankton. So they're very cool. It's a very Alaska, 3.3 meters. Okay, Rookinator. It's only 3.3 for 11 feet. It's a very sort of traditional Alaskan piece, and I like it a lot because I did a lot of work with Alaska. So I bought it once when I was up there. It was fun. It was fun trying to bring it down. Thank you, Blue Ariel. No, Ryden. He says, will North Korea attack South Korea since they've got a treaty with Russia? I mean, not because they've got a treaty with Russia. North Korea is crazy, so they might attack. I mean, they might attack South Korea. They might attack us too. But not because Russia's going to come to their defense. The problem is for Russia and South Korea. If North Korea attacks South Korea, we will come to South Korea's defense. That is part of a longstanding treaty, and also just, I would say, sort of the military culture of the U.S. It is an understanding that we will go to war for South Korea, just as we will go to war for Japan, and we will go to war for Taiwan. So if the North Koreans attack South Korea, thinking, we've got the Russians, no one will dare fight us if we attack South Korea, there's literally going to be a world war if North Korea attacks South Korea. So again, I'm not really afraid of it happening in the sense that the calculation is not going to be, we can get away with it because we get the Russians on our side. The Russians know damn well, as do the Chinese, that it's going to be World War III if North Korea invades South Korea. And I think the Chinese among all are going to probably stop them from doing it. Yeah. I mean, Jamie says, would Putin be waiting for Trump to get into office, then go on the offensive on Ukraine whilst they currently stock up? I mean, basically, Putin really can't go on the offensive much in Ukraine anyway. They tried, but not in a big way these last 2 months, right? And it kind of petered out pretty much. They can't do anything big until next year, the sort of defense experts are saying. Next year, coincidentally, coincides with Trump possibly entering the White House, right? Our election is November, and the new president enters office 90 days later. Thank you, Tattooed, for the gift. That means January 20th is when the new president is sworn in. If I'm Putin, you better believe I just need to bide my time and wait until January 20th and see if Donald Trump comes in, who's my best friend. Trump who hates Ukraine, Trump who loves Russia, Trump who said yet again last weekend that he was upset that we're giving more aid to Ukraine. He would cut it off. If Trump cuts off aid to Ukraine, it's going to be bad. Again, I've said this before. You run the risk of a world war if Trump cuts off aid to Ukraine. He could cause war in Europe. And if war happens in Europe, guess what's going to happen? All the other Putin invades Europe, all the other European countries are going to get involved. We will have no choice but to go to war to help them. Zero. And I don't even think Donald Trump can stop us from going to war, because I think Americans would be so outraged if our allies went to war and we didn't come and help them. So very dangerous stuff there. It is not super likely that Trump will win. There's a new poll today, although it's a national poll, new poll today, I think Fox News, of all things, showing Biden ahead by 2 points. Now, That there's two issues here. One, ahead by 2 points still puts you within the margin of error, but there have been some polls recently that look like Biden is starting to do better. The second issue, though, you want to be careful with national polls in the US because our system of electing a president is so screwed up that we don't do it based on the national vote. So you could have the majority of the national vote and lose, or the plurality, but the most number of votes and lose. Hillary Clinton had 3 million more votes than Donald Trump in 2016. She lost. Thank you, Yak. Al Gore, Democrat, had 500,000 more votes than Republican George Bush in 2000. He lost. So it is not a guarantee when you look at national polls. You want to look at polls in the individual states and how they're doing, the key states and things like that. In those states, Biden has shown some improvement, which is good. Thank you, Yak. It is new. So let's see. We've got, is it 5 months? We're in June. That's 6. We've got 5 months until the election, 4.5 months. There's going to be a debate next week. I'm not sure debates matter, but let's find out. We shall see, but I don't think they really matter. But anyway. Right. It's the electoral vote, which is a freaking mess. Thank you, Vicky, for the gift. Thank you, Yak. No, that's a funny question. I don't think so. Can POTUS veto a declaration of war from Congress? That's really funny. I don't know. I don't think so, because Congress is what, Congress. Let me Google this and see. I don't think so. I've never thought about that before. The only problem is, so in other words, war breaks out in Europe. Trump doesn't want to get involved, and Congress says, let's go to war. I don't think so, though. Hold on. Can president veto war resolution or declaration of war? No, that's the War Power Act, of course. I knew it was going to bring up War Powers Act. We don't want the War Powers Act. Thank you, Steve. Cool gift. Can president veto declaration of war? Let's try that. Can the president veto? Okay, Wikipedia is saying yes, which is interesting. Wikipedia is saying yes. The president has the right to sign or veto congressional acts such as the declaration of war, and Congress may override. Now, Congress would have to override with a 2/3 vote. I think 2/3. 2/3? God, I'm like forgetting my basic constitutional law here. I think it's a 2/3 vote. The concern is, or 3/5. I think it's 2/3. The concern is, so what, right? Donald Trump says, I'm not going to war. 2/3 WC. Okay, it is 2/3. Gunther says no. All right, everyone's disagreeing here. Well, Wikipedia said yes. Doesn't mean Wikipedia is right, but I find Wikipedia to be often on point because you've got so many experts kind of, editing it. But what gets interesting here is that the, what was I going to say, with the declaration of war, even if Congress declares war, all Trump has to do is say, I don't care, right? I want Putin to win. I want Europe to lose. I'm not sending troops. That's all he has to do. I mean, Congress would have to pass legislation ordering Trump to send troops, and frankly, that might not even be constitutional because they may not even have that power. It would be a mess. It would be an absolute mess. I think Trump would just literally not do it. He'd just say no, but Congress, there's nothing. The problem is there's nothing Congress can do if Trump says no. They could try to pact. I mean, what are they going to do? Pass an act that says send 10,000 troops to Germany, then pass another resolution that's, or a law that says send 20,000 troops to Poland. I mean, how do you do that? And then they send them, and Trump has them sit on their ass, right? And Trump goes, "Okay, I'll send them, but I'm not going to have them do anything." It's a disaster, absolutely disaster. Gunther says Congress gets the sole power. But as I said, I don't think it matters if Congress declares war. Well, yeah. Congress's only resolution, its only response could be to impeach Trump if he refuses to go to war in Europe. But we know they wouldn't impeach the guy. I mean, all the stuff this guy has done. He tried to overthrow the government violently and they didn't impeach him. They're not going to impeach him. They're not going to do it, right? They're just not going to do it. So anyway. I will never do debates on TikTok. You know why? Because I did that crap for a very long time. I used to go on national TV here in the States, on Fox News a lot, actually, CNN too, but I did a lot of Fox News 20 years ago. And I hated it because they would always get you with some lunatic. I mean, in my case, I'd always have to debate like gay rights or something. And they would get me with some religious right Nazi. And I'd have to sit there with this crazy person saying, gay people are pedophiles. And then you have to say, no, gay people are not pedophiles. I got so sick of those discussions and having to be on with hateful, crazy people that I just don't like it. I don't like it. I don't. I like having a smart intellectual discussion with somebody, but the anti-Ukraine people, I don't think there's anybody who is legit who's anti-Ukraine. I don't think they are. I think they're all bad people at this point. They're either MAGA people or they're, Russia sympathizers or something. I just don't want to. I'd rather have somebody intelligent to discuss it with, to hear their point of view and what they're thinking, but not like debating them. No. Well, and I just don't know what it would get us, Beaches, if we declared war. I mean, big deal, and typically we don't. Thank you, James Althouse. I saw that gift coming in on YouTube. Thank you. What else we got, guys? What else we got? I made some Greek Easter bread because I like it. So I'm very happy. Tonight I may have a slice after the show. It's kind of like challah, the Jewish stuff, but it's more Eastern European. We make sort of a very egg-rich bread with butter and sugar sweetening. You're supposed to use mastic, but I use vanilla because it works. But it's a very nice, rich, almost like a what's the word in French? The French, the French little pastry, like they make like the little religieuse, but of bread. What are they called? Brioche style. Exactly. Yeah. Brioche style. So anyway, I'm very excited. Mine's cooling off right now. So I'm going to have some, and you toast it and you put butter on it. Oh my God. So good. So freaking good. Oh boy. Oh, Greek yogurt. I don't even remember telling you to get Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is very good though. Yeah. Because it's depending how they make it. Greek yogurt can be filtered so that it becomes thicker, or they can add gelatin to it to thicken it, but it still is kind of a nicer, thicker yogurt. Oh, that's funny, buddy. Yeah, I was on CNN. I've been on CNN a lot over the years. I did a lot in the 2000s, but I did, last time I was on might have been 6 years ago. I don't remember now. Well, that makes no sense. You believe in the Monroe Doctrine, which is why you don't support Ukraine? That makes no sense whatsoever. That's a non sequitur. I am pro-Ukraine, pro-America, pro-democracy, and pro-military. So who knows what that makes me today? It doesn't make me a Republican, that's for sure. In the old days, it would have made my foreign policy views very Republican. I was very Republican on foreign policy back before Trump. Now I have the same views, but, oh, thanks, Lamb Chop. I have the same views, but, the Republicans don't anymore. They're weak on defense. They're weak on our troops. They support our enemies. What do you do? I am not much of a reader, Rookinator, because I used to read a lot. Then for like the last 20 years, I've been doing I had a big political blog here in the US for one of the top political blogs. And I was reading and writing so much throughout the day that at night now, I just don't like to read. I'm reading all day long. I'm reading the news. I'm not reading books, but I'm reading the news all day long. I just don't find reading relaxing. Like I want to veg in front of my TV and watch Shogun or something. So, I've got to sort of force myself to start reading again. Because obviously it's good for you, but I just sort of get tired of it. I've not written books. I thought about it over the years. Now I'm not so sure. People who write books say it's a real pain, meaning it's hard to write a book. Typically, you shouldn't expect to sell anything if you do write a book, well, that's the thing, Alec. Exactly. I mean, the Monroe Doctrine is about the U.S. expanding west, kind of manifest destiny, all this kind of crap, right? So if anything, the Monroe Doctrine, if you really want to go there, the Monroe Doctrine in Ukraine, thank you, Rose. Thank you, Hartme. The Monroe Doctrine is about the U.S. sort of projecting its influence also outside of our borders is what the Monroe Doctrine is about. So if anything, I would argue Monroe Doctrine, even though it's not connected at all to Ukraine and Europe, it still is it is in the same camp as people who believe the U.S. should kind of go forth and conquer and this kind of stuff, right? Thank you, Don. Thank you, Ye, for the rose and the hearts. Exactly. Dylan is saying the same thing that Gunther said, I think. The Monroe Doctrine was about stopping European colonialism in North America. Exactly. Right. It just makes no sense saying I'm for the Monroe Doctrine. I think, honestly, again, I think we're dealing with a Russian troll or ChatGPT there. Like, I'm for the Monroe Doctrine. That's why I'm against Ukraine. That's like saying I like black tea. That's why I'm against Ukraine. It's like, okay. Okay. Yes, Toneth. It is new. What else we got? What else we got? Is this real? It is real, Trex. Oh, I see what you mean. Somebody else was sending something. Okay. Black tea. I don't like tea anyway. I mean, tea's okay. I like coffee. I'm a coffee guy. Not sure what they're doing right now, Dan. Dan is asking if the Ukrainians are still using Storm Shadow cruise missiles and ATACMS missiles on Crimea. I know that ATACMS were used recently. I don't know about Storm Shadows. But if they've got them, they'll use them if a good target was presented. You know what I mean? I just don't know. I haven't heard of anything in the last week or two, though. You know? I mean, Johnny, we've talked about this before as far as why it's important to support Ukraine. First of all, you know, and I will say this, I'm not as much of a fan of the moral argument because, meaning the Ukrainians are dying, the Ukrainians are suffering, the Ukrainians are innocent, and Russia's evil, and we should help the Ukrainians against an evil imperialistic power. I don't disagree with that, but I have a very realistic view of United States foreign policy. I will also say, I think every countries get involved around the world when they deem it in their national interest. They typically don't get involved just because they want to be good people. That's usually not why. They usually do an analysis. You know, being a good person may play a role, but they do an analysis and they say, is it important for our country to get involved or not? Right? Does it help our country to get involved? That's where you get involved. Russia is back to being the Soviet Union again. They are back to being an evil dictatorship again. Thank you, Ernie. They are back to threatening their neighbors. They're back to threatening us. Russia is our enemy. Ann Applebaum said the other day, a lot of Americans don't realize Russia's our enemy, but Russia sure as hell thinks that we're their enemy, and Russia's hell-bent on destroying our country. The Russians will go after Europe next. If the Russians win in Ukraine, they will see it as appeasement. Thank you, Ernie. They will see it as, hey, America and the Europeans won't stand. They'll stand up to us. They'll put some sanctions. But when push comes to shove, if we're willing to lose enough men, which Putin is because he's a dictator, we can take Ukraine. That means we can take Poland. That means we can take Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania and Moldova and maybe even threaten Romania, right? I mean, it goes on and on and on. Sweden, by the way, they would love to get a Swedish island called Gotland in the, what is it called? The Baltic Sea up there. That's why I think we are back to the point where Russia is evil again. We're back to the point where Russia is our enemy and where Russia wants to destroy our country and they want to just screw things up all over the world. We've got to stop them. The interesting thing with Ukraine is we provided, you know, maybe $100 billion total, like 60 billion might be military or 70 now, whatever it is. A lot of it was financial aid too. Maybe 100 billion, 110 billion. I'd have to see what the latest number is. That is 15% of our defense budget of 1 year. Okay? 1 year's defense budget, 15% of that has been enough to destroy the Russian army. Thank you, Elizabeth. 500,000 Russian military casualties in Ukraine. Horrific number of Russian tanks destroyed. Planes as well. Russian fleet, the fleet the Black Sea. I know I was going to say Balkans. The Black Sea fleet south of Ukraine. The Russians have been destroyed. We paid nothing. I meant Gotland. I just say Gotland. Yeah, I meant Gotland and I said Gotland. Yes, Pedro. The Black Sea fleet destroyed. We have paid nothing. Thank you, Israeli named person, for the hat and mustache. We have paid nothing and destroyed the Russian military. They're our enemy, and it's a good thing that their military has been destroyed because it is less to threaten us. And the final point, as I said, I think Russia will invade Europe if they win in Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine is in Europe, but you get my point. Go after the European countries. And if war breaks out in Europe, Trump can say all he wants that we're not going to get involved. The Brits will get involved. They'll declare war. The Germans will declare war. The Norwegians, the Finns, right? The French, Poles, they're all going to do the Baltic states. They're all going to declare war on Russia if Russia invades Europe. And there is no way for America to stay out of, thank you, Jonathan, to stay out of a war if all of Europe has now declared war on Russia. There is no way for us to stay out of that war. We're going to have to get involved. I think it is dangerous as hell. I think we are witnessing Russia become the Soviet Union again. We are witnessing frankly, the early 1930s with the rise of the Germans, the Nazis. We're watching that in Russia. It's the same mentality. It's the same brutality. It's the same intent. They're even using the same arguments. I mean, literally, the Russians are using the same arguments that the Nazis use about, well, our neighbors have ethnic Russians in them. Like there are ethnic, like I'm an ethnic Greek, right? Claiming that, America has ethnic Greeks, so Greece can invade and save the ethnic Greeks because we're really Greek. We're not really Greek. I'm really American. Thank you, Carla. I'm really American. The Russian ethnic people in Ukraine, they're really Ukrainian. The French nationals, ethnics in Canada, they're Canadian. They're not French. They haven't been French in a very long time, right? But guess who else made these arguments? The Germans. In World War II, the Germans talked about, our German-speaking brethren abroad, we must go save them. They're really Germans, blah, 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 blah. So, and the trolls hate it, but we like to make the comparison because it's true. Thank you, Callum, you're muting people. Good. Oh, Callum's here. I didn't realize you were here. History does repeat itself. Yep. Oh. You're not a troll, Misha K. Oh, that was funny. So the troll said, everything you say is a lie. So I said, you're not a troll. Thank you for another hat and mustache there. Appreciate that. It is a whack a troll. Well, again, the Russians are freaking out this week, which reminds me, make sure to give a gift or even a subscription or a gift subscription. You can subscribe and be a monthly donor, which is very helpful to me. Thank you, Hans. Or you can even donate a 1-month donation gift for somebody else in the forum so that they can have access. We're doing our show, Saturday morning show for the monthly donors on, well, again, because Discord's broken. If you have a monthly subscription on YouTube, not Discord, TikTok's broken. If you have a monthly paid subscription on Ko-fi, YouTube, or Discord, you can join our weekend show. TikTok's broken, so they've never been able to fix the connection with Discord, and it's not clear why. Thank you. Who is that? I see more gifts. Who did the gifts? Who did the 5 gifts? Just seeing. Thank you, Louise. Appreciate that. And thank you, Hebrew person, again for the cap. I wish I knew how to read that name, but I can't. Anyway. A Blue Ariel. Of course, it was Blue Ariel. Blue Ariel is always very generous sending the gift memberships. That was very sweet of you. There's no such thing as military conscription in the U.S. No, there's no such thing as like that even vaguely happening here. That's another Russian propaganda point they've been putting out there. Everyone has to register for the draft. It's never happening. I'm not really up on Turkey and Armenia. I mean, other than, the Turks are kind of a-holes when it comes to Armenia, but I'm not really sure on where things stand and whether the question was whether Turkey would potentially invade Armenia. With all the weirdness going on with Azerbaijan and everything else, I'm just, and Armenia kind of recently pulled out of the defense alliance with Russia, which is kind of interesting. So, Sweden is training pilots for the Gripen. I don't remember that. Is that true, Hans? I don't remember that now. I mean, the U.S. put pressure, I think it's the U.S., put pressure on the Swedes not to give Gripens to France, but I don't remember that I saw what was happening with the training. That's interesting, but I hope it's true. And Jennifer gave a gift membership on YouTube that went to Drake. Excellent. That means you can join us on Saturday, our Saturday show. Thank you, Mark Triplig, for the hat and mustache. They're not talking about it. Interesting. Okay, that's very interesting. Very interesting. No, Jason, that's a troll talking point. Anybody else bringing up selective service today? Ash gets muted. It's a Russian troll talking point. So, am I worried about North Korea and Russia attacking us? No, because we would nuke them and blow them off the face of the earth. Literally. So no, I'm not. Thank you. Give me the vote from Yay. Appreciate that. Ash had to leave. Okay, Amanda, you feel free to do it. Well, you're like the Maytag repairman over at YouTube anyway. So, what else we got? Guys? We'll go a couple more minutes and then call it quits. Don't know, but Bethany, I think the ships left Cuba, the Russian ships. I think so. Oh, Poppy's here too. Okay, good. Good. The Russians have destroyed a lot of Ukraine's energy infrastructure, and there's concerns about rationing this winter. Yes. Well, I mean, interesting question. Well, here's the problem. Ye is asking, would the U.S. win a nuclear war with North Korea? I guess it depends, right? And I don't know enough about this. Meaning, who attacks first, right? If North Korea is getting ready to launch the weapons, would we identify it quickly enough that we would nuke them first before they nuked us with their weapons? Thank you, Ricky. I believe North Korea already now has some missiles that can reach the Western U.S. I'm pretty sure. I remember that being a thing. So that would be the concern. They could also nuke Asia. I'd be worried as to whether we could take out all of North Korea's weapons before they're launched, would be my concern. But you'd need somebody who's way more of a sort of defense expert on North Korean nukes to know. I mean, but I don't think so. I don't think we could take them out. Yeah, there is no conscription in the U.S. We have a volunteer military. It's not changing. It's not even like literally. That's what I'm saying. It's a troll. It's a Russian troll talking point about conscription in the U.S., meaning the draft. It's a troll talking point. There is no draft in America. There hasn't been one for decades. Like, was it 50 years? We haven't had the draft. I mean, and no one's even talking about it. It's not even it's literally not a thing. You know why it's not a thing? Because we're supporting Ukraine. Now, Donald Trump may bring back the draft. He may do it by cutting off aid to Ukraine and causing a war in Europe. That's possible. But if we keep supplying aid to Ukraine, literally nobody, not since Vietnam, exactly like the 1970s, literally nobody is talking about a draft in America other than Russia. And it's a Russian troll talking point they've been putting out there forever. Yeah, but it isn't just misinformed people. It's come out of nowhere because the Russians have been putting it out there as a talking point. They're putting it out there on social media, and they're then getting people scared and asking about it. Thank you, World's My Oyster. So it doesn't mean the people that are asking are Russian trolls, but I guarantee you they got it from a Russian troll, unfortunately. And the MAGA people, I'm sure, are helping them too, because the MAGA people work for Russia. So, big surprise there. Anyway, another influx of trolls after the UK elections, or leading up to the UK elections, I would think, right? Yeah, the 80s were 40 years ago. It's scary. I know, not 20 years ago. Exactly. Well, I mean, South Korea isn't going to declare war on North Korea, because Ye was asking, would the U.S. join that war directly or indirectly? If North Korea attacks South Korea, U.S. joins the war. Yes. If South Korea attacks North Korea, I'm not convinced on that. Thank you, AJ. Oh yeah, Michael, we talked about that earlier in the show. She's a Russian-American dual national that the Russians kidnapped because she came to Russia to see her like ailing grandparents or something. So the Russians kidnapped her in December. And they're charging her 20 years with treason because she gave like $20 to a Ukrainian charity like 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago. I mean, just amazing. Absolutely amazing. This is who they are. It's a dictatorship, We do still have bases in South Korea, Jeffrey, but Trump has threatened to remove them because, again, Trump works for our enemies. Google it. Trump literally threatened to remove our bases from South Korea. He's crazy. I mean, I'm just saying this is like crazy talk out of this man. And it amazes me that Republicans who used to be strong on defense and now are terrible on defense, anyway, some of you Republicans might be strong, but guess what? Your party isn't. And if you vote for your party, then you're responsible. But Trump wants to remove U.S. troops from South Korea, which is insane. It would do Putin a great favor. It would do North Korea a great favor. It frankly would risk war with North Korea invading South Korea, because if they didn't have to worry about the U.S. losing troops, Yeah, JB, it's the USA is, not are. And it's also not USA, it's US, but I probably shouldn't help the trolls figure out English. Because we don't want them to sort of figure out how to speak correct English and fool people. But I love something like that. USA, our enemy humanity. Okay, Boris. Okay. Why? Because we like you. MICKEYMOUSE. Okay, guys, I feel like we're slowing down here. France is really stepping up. Yep, very good. Very good. That's a different story. If China invades Taiwan, would we need a draft? Who knows? Who knows? You know? I did mention the Russians paying the chatbots on yesterday's show. Yeah. Currently, the U.S. will not go to war. We go to war if Russia declares war. If Russia uses a nuclear weapon, we go to war. Russia doesn't, probably not. You know? Taiwan will be a serious war. If the Chinese invade Taiwan, we're going to war with China. Absolutely, positively. But you'd have to get some of the military folks to tell you if we would need a draft. I'm going to guess we wouldn't need a draft because we've got a rather large military. Yeah, Russia will not destroy the U.S. because Russia can't destroy Ukraine. I mean, here's the thing. We got to troll. But if Russia could destroy the U.S., why can't the Russia destroy Ukraine? Russia's in the third year of fighting little old Ukraine, and they're not winning. They're stuck. If Russia can't beat Ukraine, how are they going to beat America? By the way, the U.S. Air Force, in a week, Russia would be on its knees begging for help if they faced the U.S. Air Force, let alone the U.S. Navy. You know, we've got real submarines. We don't have like the loud, goofy, fake submarines the Russians have, the crappy, communist submarines they've got made. I mean, Russian technology is like, buying stuff from China. But yeah, Russia would be destroyed if they went to war with NATO. And by the way, it doesn't matter if I say it. The Russians know it. And again, they're in the third year of a war with Ukraine. They're supposed to take 3 to 10 days, guys. And they're not winning. They're stuck. They're in a quagmire right now in Ukraine. They're not winning, but they're not losing, but they're not winning. You think in that case, right? You're 3 years into a war that was supposed to take you a weekend. You're not winning. You're stuck. You don't know what to do. You're having to go and beg North Korea for weapons. You're so desperate. And you say, you know what? What really would shake things up is if we declared war on 32 more countries, but not just 32 more countries, the most successful, strongest alliance of countries in the history of the world, NATO. It's not going to happen. But that guy was a troll. These guys are trolls. And that's the thing. They're either bots, like they're ChatGPT, or they're people paid. A lot of them are Africans, by the way. We get a lot of Africans in the comments being paid by the Russians, basically. And yeah, Scott Ritter's a pedophile, so we don't really quote him on this. You don't want to mention, the next time you mention him, you're going to be blocked because I'm really not a fan of pedophiles. I'm actually going to block him from the live next time because that's another troll talking point. He's literally a pedophile. You've missed the point. The point is you're quoting a convicted pedophile and you think he's credible. He's not credible. He's a sick man. You've missed the point. I think you've missed the point, troll person. And by the way, he's a huge fan of the Russians love him. Scott Ritter's another Russian talking point. He's the convicted pedophile. He's crazy. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I'm going to report that one. Excellent. There we go. Oh, you're going to be in trouble now. You're in trouble. I forgot we can report comments. There we go. Scott Ritter on Three's Company. No, that would be what was Ritter? What was it? It wasn't Jack Ritter. What was his name? Oh my God. Who was Ritter on Three's Company? John Ritter? Okay, John. And his father was like Tex Ritter, who was some famous cowboy star or something like that, I think. John Ritter. Yep. Would NATO help if China invades China? Nicholas asked. That's the big question. We don't know. Putin made some waves a couple of years ago, basically talking about how Europe needs its own defenses because they can't rely on America, which is true. We now know with Donald Trump, Europe cannot rely on us. Our word means nothing. But the Macron also made a weird comment about America in Asia and like our interest in war in Asia might not be Europe's interest in Asian war. And they were basically, it was insinuating that if America goes to war with China over Taiwan, maybe Europe wouldn't get involved. It was really disturbing and people were not happy about it. Not happy at all. So yeah. Anyway. All right, guys, I'm going to, hello, Mari. All right, I am going to do the quick summary and then close up. We've been doing this for an hour and 20 minutes. And yesterday, I think we did an hour 45. So let me do a quick summary and then we will be done. Alexa, lower the temperature 1 degree. Sorry, getting a little warm in here. Okay, today is day 847 of Putin's 3-day special military operation. More nuclear threats from Russia. Russia claimed today, that Putin claimed today that if they lose in Ukraine, it'll be the end of Russia and the country will literally dissolve. It's like, go away. Then he claimed that maybe they need to change their nuclear rules so they can use nukes against us. It was just like, go away. Literally, guys, and I always have to, whenever I bring up the Russian nuclear stuff, we've got to say it. If they lose their nukes against us, we'll use our nukes against them and wipe them off the map. It's not going to happen. He's bluffing and he's being kind of a dick. South Korea is going to reconsider Ukrainian weapons. South Korea, because Russia is now in a defense pact with North Korea and helping North Korea develop more nukes and better weapons to basically attack South Korea. The South Koreans said they may just give weapons to Ukraine now. They have not done it yet. And then the Russians threatened them and said, you're not going to like it if you do that. Except the problem is the Russians are threatening them. What Russia could do in retaliation is help North Korea, except Russia's already helping North Korea. So it doesn't really help. All right, next. Romania will donate 2 Patriot missile systems to Ukraine. Huge deal. The White House confirms it will be sending additional Patriot missiles and NASAMS missiles to Ukraine. Reuters says the Biden administration is going to ban the sales of the antivirus software made by Russia's Kaspersky lab in the U.S., because the company is too close to the Russian government and a risk to security risk. Sky News says an American-Russian woman is facing up to 20 years in a Russian prison after making a small donation to a nonprofit organization raising funds for Ukraine because she was stupid enough to go visit her family in Russia last December. And what a surprise, they kidnapped her. And that's actually it for the news. I mean, that news took us like 45 minutes to go through because we went through a deep analysis, but those are the headlines of what we're talking about. Russia has more and bigger nukes. They really don't. They've got more nukes than us, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. They've got like 5,000 or 6,000, and I mean, we've got a somewhat less. Who cares? It just doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because literally, if you've got enough nukes to blow up the world 6 times, and we've got enough nukes to blow up the world 5 times, what's the difference? It just doesn't matter. And as Beach has said, our nukes work. We've also got lots of nukes and submarines and nuclear submarines, which Russia can't touch. If Russia attacks us, even with their extra nukes, we will respond with our nuclear weapons and our submarines and blow them out of the water, literally. So yeah, not going to happen. Not kind of a troll talking point. Not going to happen. All right, guys. And ours work, which I just love that comment from Ginger. Oops. That's funny. All right. Anyways, guys, I'm going to call it quits here. Thank you for joining us tonight. I will be back tomorrow. Our nukes actually hit their target. I mean, there's so many things wrong with the Russians in terms of their weapons program. Again, the country, they don't make good stuff. They produce oil and natural gas and vodka. They don't even make vodka anymore. The vodka's been outsourced too. That's it. I'm not doing Discord tonight, Amanda, because it's too late. I want to do Discord when it's like 7 o'clock because we got to go to Discord in like another hour. I'm just exhausted. Let's try to remember to use Discord earlier. Like even ping me and mention Discord maybe 6:45 at some point, because that will let me sort of get rolling in my head to move over, right? To move over there. So, all right, guys, I am going to control one more troll just because it was fun to mute them. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Oh, I thought it was you. Oh, that's funny. I thought it was your name. Your name must have been right below or above the person asking. That's funny. I saw Amanda. But yes, thank you, mods. Thank you guys for the gifts. I will see you all tomorrow. All right. We'll be back at 6 o'clock Eastern time, US. Oh, hey, Greg. Glad you joined us today and you listened. Yeah, it's a kind of a fun show. I mean, this is typically what we do. We talk about Ukraine, but I think it's interesting. Thank you, Super Hornet, because we get it, and Runas for the gift. We get into a much larger discussion about U.S. politics, I mean, my background is foreign policy, but it's also U.S. national politics. I've worked in Washington for like 40 years. Kind of scary. in national level in politics. So we get into a lot of political stuff, but a lot of how the American government works, how the presidency works. Anyway, I think it's fun, but it's so ostensibly or putatively our show is about Ukraine, but we do get into a lot of other stuff. So anyway, all right, guys, yeah, come by tomorrow. Thank you, user 336 for the gift. All right, guys, I'm gonna head out just because by the time we get to like the hour and a half mark, I try to cut it off because like my voice starts I can even feel my voice a little bit. So I try to like quit by an hour and a half in so I don't lose my voice. But all right, guys, thank you. I will see the rest of you tomorrow. And don't forget, Saturday for the paid monthly subscribers on Discord, YouTube, and Ko-fi, but not TikTok because TikTok's broken and TikTok refuses to fix it. But the rest of you can join us for Saturdays. No! Oh my God! I'm an idiot. I'm actually kind of tired today. TikTok, you will be joining us on Saturday. Mods, you should have caught me misspeaking. TikTok subscriptions are on the Saturday show. I'm totally spacing out here. You guys are welcome. Yeah, any TikTok subscriber, whether it's a gift or whether you bought it yourself, anybody who's got SNN next to their name, you're a monthly subscriber. It might just been a gift from somebody for a month. You can join us tomorrow. So not tomorrow, Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. So yeah, oh my God, I can't believe I was telling you that's a different issue that TikTok's broken with. All right, guys, let's have a good night. All right, see y'all. Burp. And you guys,